So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the second day of the Welcome Meeting horizontal session to kick off the Best Life project selected under the call 2022. This section is dedicated to the project selected under the Circular Economy and Quality of Life, Nature and Biodiversity, and Climate Action. And so, welcome and congratulations also from my side. My name is Manuela Osmi. I'm a project officer in the Life unit, and I'm very proud to welcome you today and to guide you through this event. Before giving the floor to my colleagues, let me share with you some simple instruction for the best meeting experience. Next slide, please. So the Q&A session will be managed by Slido, via Slido. I'd like to ask you to ask for questions related to the subject of each presentation during each presentation. And all the horizontal session of the 3rd, 4th, and 24th of October are recorded. So we will find the relevant link for the registration on the registration platform until end of November. Next slide, please. You can find the QR code for Slido for ask for questions in the slide, and you can also find the code in the chat. Our agenda today, let me share with you the agenda, will foresee several interesting presentations on the role of the external monitoring team, on the reporting and payments process, on the amendment, and on the life close to market for support the beneficiaries. The next one, please. So before giving the floor to my colleagues, I would like to remind you about the upcoming events of the next week, starting from tomorrow on the 5th of October with a session dedicated to the climate action projects. Then we will have the natural biodiversity thematic session on 10th of October, followed by the CQL thematic session on 11th of October. And to conclude with a section dedicated to the financial management on 24th of October. Please register to the registration link also visible on the slide. So I'd like to, we can start, I think. I'd like to stress before giving the floor to my colleagues that this meeting today is the occasion of passing key information and key message for the best implementation of your project. So in few words, this meeting is for you, and I strongly encourage you to take this opportunity for improving your knowledge and skills and reinforcing your motivation. So the timing is running fast, so I'm pleased to invite my colleague Cesar Soanes to take the floor for the first topic on the role of the external monitoring team. Please, Cesar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manuela. Yeah, so if someone can show the, yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, this presentation indeed, I think it will be of very high interest to you because, well, it concerns your daily life and interaction with us during the lifetime of your project. As you see here, we are speaking about the external monitoring team. So LIFE, opposite to other EU funding programs, has a special feature, and is that we have an external contractor with 100 monitors or so that are distributed all over Europe, and we assign to each of your projects one monitor that will more or less be following your project and supporting in a direct or indirect way you until the end of the project. So it's important that you know what are they doing and what is their role in liaising between you and us. So why do we need such an external monitoring team? So there are several reasons, as you can see in the screen. The first one is that we are covering a very broad range of topics that involve multiple areas of expertise, and the team that we have at SINEA is not so broad, not so many people. Then also there's always a very great gain from having some national or regional knowledge of the environmental and policy context in order to support you better. And also there is the language barrier sometimes. So there also it's very useful to have people that speak your own language, having contact with you. Next one, please. Our contractor is called Elmen, and it's a consortium that consists of 9 regional teams that you can see there in the screen, in the map. And they have different regional and thematic responsibilities. And well, there is a small mistake. For the communication of the LIFE program, we have a second contractor. So they are responsible element for the monitoring. And then we have a second contractor, which is led by Stantec and VO Europe, that is related to communication aspects of the LIFE program, like the organization of this event. And then in the element teams, we have, it's divided into 3 main, or structure into 3 main teams, which is first the board of directors, then the central coordination team, and then we have in general the larger bulk, which is the monitoring team. Next, please. So as said, 9 regional teams that cover the whole EU. There you see the faces of some of them. You have the link to their website down there. You can also scrutinize a bit more the team. And they are divided also, of course, thematically, like climate change, environment, including circular economy and quality of life, nature, NGOs, and finances. Next slide. So the Elmen monitors, they act as an interface between you and us. They provide guidance to you on technical, administrative, and financial management, reporting, communication, replication, networking, other issues. They also help to spot early in the implementation, or as early as possible, potential problems so that we can solve them or mitigate the potential impacts better. And then they provide support to projects through also the help of another third external contractor for the close to market projects and to promote the market uptake. Next, please. Yeah, so in practice, what you will have is, as said before, 1 technical monitor allocated to your project. And this monitor will have an access in the funding and tenders portal as in read-only mode to the project information in the same way as coordinated beneficiaries have, so that the monitor can see project data, processes, and roles in the consortium. Next, please. 2 important remarks are that first, the monitor is not authorized to take any decision on behalf of SINEA. So he can advise you, he can suggest things, but when it comes to take decisions on whether there is a need for an amendment or if there is some changes allowed or not, then that's for SINEA to decide. And is not involved in the management of the financial resources. That's also SINEA role. And the second point is that the monitor is bound, and this is also very important for you, so that's one for your peace of mind. They are bound by the confidentiality and independence declaration during both the project implementation and up to 5 years after the payment of the balance. Yeah, next one. Here you have in this slide a bit of an overview of different roles or actions that the monitor performs, monitoring team. So first, they interact with you when there is need to make a complex amendment to the project, to prepare such an amendment. Then, in general, the monitors evaluate the project reports and also the key deliverables of your project once they are submitted. Then they as well verify the compliance with rules during the monitoring visits and also when assessing reports. They will visit your project by default 3 times during the lifetime of your project, or if the project is very long or there are some issues, it might be more times. And finally, they also answer questions that you may have on a continuous basis, but not in a direct way, but you have to go through the live monitoring help desk. You have received some information already about it. If you did not receive information about this, can you please go back to the slide? Yeah. If you did not receive information about this help desk up to now, or somehow it went maybe to your spam box or something, please tell us so that we can, again, send you the relevant information about it. Next, please. Then also the monitoring team, so your monitor and also other colleagues that he has more expert in the key project indicators, are supporting you to verify and to help you input the first set of data of your monitoring of your project indicators, and also at a later stage during the basically at the end of your project, also for the final values of the indicators. They also check the project policy impact and relevance. They prepare as well for SINEA, upon request also of our parent DGs, some thematic analysis and studies. And for closed life, nature and biodiversity projects, they verify as well the project entries into the land purchase database for those that have purchased land. And finally, they also carry out ex-post monitoring missions to closed projects. Next one, please. And well, related to supporting network and communications, they also provide you with some assistance and suggestions in liaising with other live projects with similar objectives and themes. They support us in the organization of events that may gather projects on a specific thematic field in cooperation with also the other contractor, the Stantec and VO Europe. Then as well, they support us in the organization of events such as this one, the welcome meetings, in cooperation as well with Stantec and VO Europe. And they liaise with other contractors and SINEA for a wider dissemination of the project information and of other live communication outputs. Next one, please. So as a wrap up of this first set of slides, I would like to emphasize that please inform always of major project developments or difficulties. Do not wait until it is too late, or until it is the next mission or the report. So we have in the funding and tender portal, you have when you enter into your project, there is the messaging facility, and then you have the DLV channel, which is deliverables and continuous communication channel, let's say. And there you can please post a message and tell us when you have such highlights of your project or main issues, so that we may either spread information or support you. Then also please note that the monitor provides guidance, but indeed it does not, his opinion is not binding. It does not mean an acceptance by SINEA if, for example, the monitor says that, yeah, this change is okay. So if you have doubts, in any case, SINEA approval is mandatory. Yeah. And then always send a copy if you would communicate at some point for some reason with us outside of the funding and tenders portal, outside of that messaging facility. Then please put also, for example, by email, through email, then put always in copy your monitor, your element monitor, so that he can always be up to date and fully informed about what is the project doing. Next slide, please. So now we pass through the second block, which is about, okay, so now how do we communicate among us? So please, next one. The channels available are first in the funding and tenders portal. You have there the participants register is the main tool, the main place where you should keep always updated the information about your consortium, about the participating organizations, and about the people within those organizations that are contact persons. And in particular, well, keep people is the primary coordinator contact, of course. That should be always updated, and if there is any news, well, you should notify us, because in that case, it is only the PA, the project advisor from SINEA, who can change that role. In the grant management system, there are two possibilities. One is the formal notifications, and the other is informal communications on a specific process. We will see a little bit later when to use what. And then outside of the funding and tenders portal, we have the traditional means of communication of the email and the phone. Yeah, next one. So about the formal and informal communication in the funding and tenders portal. Well, the formal communication, please use it when you need to communicate as something that requires an acknowledgement of receipt. For example, when to dispatch replies to formal notifications that you have received from SINEA, and also for communications, and they're covered within the Article 19 of the grant agreement, which refers to information requests and information about events and circumstances that impact your project, the action. And also whenever it is clearly stipulated in the grant agreement. So for example, when you have to declare for some reason a conflict of interest, or when there is some force majeure that has an impact in the project. Next one, yeah. So about formal notifications, also in practical terms, how to use it in the system. You have there a link where there is good guidance on how to do it in practice, and how to create, save, and edit formal notification, how to acknowledge a formal notification from the EU. And who should make those formal notifications and send it to us. They can be created by the coordinator contacts and the participant contacts as well. Next one, please. Now, informal communications. Well, when you have something that is not formal, then the first thing before going to the funding and tenders portal is to consult with the live monitoring help desk. And that should be your first, your reflex. When you say, okay, I want to consult, you have a doubt on this, on that. First point of contact always the live monitoring help desk. So there you have the link. Probably you have already created the profiles, etc., to communicate. Now, if you have an issue which is not related to like more technical financial matters, administrative matters, but more related to IT issues, then you have other help desks that are listed there. So related to the role and access rights in the funding and tenders portal, then you have to contact the dedicated IT help desk of the portal. And in the case of the key project indicators, please contact the live IT help desk, which is a different link. And well, you have it in the slide that it will be sent to you afterwards. And you also can check the KPI section in the live website for support. Then in informal communication, also more things to say. If you have to communicate by email to SINEA, again, please copy your monitor. And then, although informal, some communications between you and us will be via the grant management system messaging facility, so that we have them stored and recorded and always available to all the different actors within SINEA and the Commission that either in a frequent or more seldom way consult the information about the project. So for example, this includes communications related to any deviation or change to come. Then also changes that require action from our side, and specific requests related to ongoing processes. Next one, please. So we can see it a little bit how it looks like. So this is how it will look like when you go to your messaging facility within your project in the funding and tenders portal. If you wish to communicate on a process, well, then you have to go, for example, in this case, in this example, you see there it's a consortium requested amendment. And then, well, if you need to tell us something related to that amendment, you go there to what you see in that squared in red, process communications. And then you see new message and you create a message and send it to us. And this facility can only be used by the coordinator, not by the other partners. Next one, please. And then, when you go to if you see the left column in the screen, the blue column, you see down there, Communication Center. So that's the button that you have to click when you want to see communications, or you want to create also some communications. So outside of processes. So there you can see in the red square in the top, you can select also which kind of message you want to see or search. You can also search it. You see there in the red, underlined in red, you have also a search bar. And there you can either, it serves two purposes: to search for messages that have been exchanged during the lifetime of the project, or to also create specific project messages that are not linked to any specific process. Next one, please. So yeah, what of those channels that you have seen? Maybe you can go 1 second to the previous screen. So there in the top in red, you see those are the different channels. You can see there are for example, there you can see there is one channel for the gap, one for one amendment that has taken place, and one for the DLV, which is the continuous communication related to continuous reporting on deliverables, milestones, risks. And yeah, so those are channels. So what channel to use? Well, the gap channel is already closed because we finished the gap phase. Now the DLV channel is now the one used for communication related to deliverables, milestones, and risks. And also we from CINEA, we will use it to send you letters following project visits. Then the AMD is amendment, so it's communication on ongoing amendment requests, such as, for example, CINEA informal OK to submit formally an amendment that you have prepared. Then the REP is communication, the periodic reporting, so linked to payments. So there we would inform you about potential, you can inform us also about potential delays in submission. And then the project messages, it's only for any other important aspects that are not at least yet related to a process. Next, please. Yeah, so now here you can see in the screen this Slido. We will use it in case that you have any questions. So please, yeah, either scan it or I'm looking
So
forward
thank
to
you, Cesar. Thank you, Cesar, for your interesting presentation and for clarifying the role of the different actors involved in the project management, in particular of the technical monitor experts. So we can open now the session related to the Q&A. We have the first 4 questions on your screen.
Yeah, so the first one is how and to whom any changes in activities within the LIFE project must be communicated. Small changes in actions that require a budget change. Well, as mentioned, the first communication point for you is always the LIFE monitoring help desk. Okay, so this is an example. So when you have this kind of information that you would like to convey and to consult, whether it has any implication or you should take some kind of action towards with CINEA, please contact the LIFE monitoring help desk and explain it. And then the LIFE monitoring help desk, the monitoring team which is behind it, will either need to consult with CINEA or not, and will tell you what to do. So, second one is how and to whom should any delays on deliverables and milestones be communicated. So yeah, again, first contact point, LIFE monitoring help desk. So this should go to the LIFE monitoring help desk, and then we will tell you what to do if there is anything that has to be done as a consequence of that. Next one is how do I find who the monitor of my project is? Well, that the monitor will contact you proactively. Okay, so you will not need to find out. He or she will contact you. Well, here you can see also a couple of other faces, Nadia Lamhandas and Fermalen, colleagues. And if you have, Nadia, and anything else to add, feel free.
I would maybe just say if there are changes in budget with regard to the changes in activities, and they are minor things, they can always be listed when they do the reporting. So in the periodic reporting, there is a budget section where they can inform on changes.
Thank you very much. In any case, it's very good if you already foresee that there are going to be some changes and you have doubts on what can be the impact of such changes. Don't wait until the reporting. In any case, in advance, consult with the LIFE monitoring help desk so that we can preempt any kind of potential issues. and also help you to prepare better the report when the time comes. Yeah. Next question is how to know the contacts of the project official. We have received only the name, but no contacts. Well, I mean, I would say if you do not have them and you would like to have them, well, please just send us a message through the messaging facility in the Funding and Tenders portal, and then, well, you will receive the reply. Next one, if we have a change, an addition, for example, in the key staff determining the grant agreement, to make an amendment or just inform SINEA. I mean, if it's just not concerning the partners of the consortium, but the staff which is working in the partnership in one of the partners, then I mean there is no need for amendment for that. So, for example, if it is, I mean, you can change it yourself in the system, and the only thing that you cannot change is, as mentioned before, the primary coordinator contact. So if the primary coordinator contact is changing, then you have to inform us through the messaging facility, telling us both the first name, the surname, the email, and the ECAS, well, the EU login ID, so that then we can change that in the system.
Just to complete what Cesar said, indeed, all the changes refer to the for example, the LIR, all the person that you assign for the signature, in the entity that is assigned for the legal signature or the financial signature. All this can be changed on your side without involving SINEA via the participant register. So, and actually, it's really important to do it when the change occurred. So like this, your data, your legal data is always up to date. And for the PICOCO, so this primary contact person, which is an important, it's a key person in the project management. Indeed, you do not really need to send us the EU login. The name and the email is sufficient. And but it has to be indeed shared as soon as possible as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Yeah, and in this sense, I mean, also a message from my side, and I think from everyone from SINEA side, is that there is very good guidance in the Funding and Tenders portal in general. So, for example, for all these issues. So we also encourage you to check it. So before consulting, check the guidance that is available in the Funding and Tenders portal. So next one is the external project manager expected to attend the kickoff meeting of the project? So in principle, if you're referring to if we are going to attend your kickoff, in principle, no, by default we are not attending the kickoff. In any case, we welcome very much if you inform us about it, so that in case that we would be available, and then we may be interested indeed in attending the kickoff. Our attendance in any case would be, I mean, can be only online by default, unless your project would be in Brussels or something like that. Yeah, because we have limited budget for missions. Then, so indeed, inform both us and also the external monitor about the kickoff, and not only kickoff, but also if during the lifetime of the project you have other like relevant events, because maybe some of those events are also of relevance for our parent DGs. So then also we can inform our parent DGs, and they might participate in one of your events. Next one is, where can we find or contact the live monitoring help desk? Okay, so if you have that question, please send us through the messaging facility in the Funding and Tenders portal when entering in your project. Send us a message, because and then we will explain to you in detail, because in principle you should have received information. Yeah. Next one, help desk. When should we activate it, and will an official communication be sent out? So, I mean, it should be activated as soon as you have received the information about how to activate it. So if you have not received the information, please contact us. I mean, in this sense, you will see that in the communication, they will tell you that you have to give some data of the person that will be the one entitled to put requests and questions in the monitoring help desk. And you can have up to 2 people, if I'm not mistaken. Nadia, correct me if I'm wrong. There are 2 people that can be allocated to that. Next one is, can the live monitoring help desk be accessed by partners as well coordinated? So as said, per project, 2 people will be allowed to insert in the system questions. This is also in order to centralize things, because yeah, it's not good to have 20 people communicating in parallel from a single project. Next one is, can we address the external monitoring through the communication center in funding tenders portal? So they will have access, the external monitoring team, to the communications that will be exchanged in the funding and tender portal. They will see them. But now, as said before, I mean, if there is some question or some information in general, maybe it's better to go first through the monitoring help desk. Now, unless it's one of the cases, for example, that falls as a formal communication. But yeah, that would be maybe my advice. I don't know if Nadia, you want to comment?
Technically, yes, you can access the external monitoring through the communication center. So it's possible. However, we propose that you contact them via the help desk, which is the right channel. But it's possible, and they will receive the notification, and they will see your message. So just for you to know. But
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and can the project duration be extended beyond 2027? I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, in principle, for the standard action projects, the maximum duration is 10 years. So that would be the maximum duration possible for the project, including amendments to extend the project. But hopefully you will not reach that age. Okay. Next one is, what is the difference between communication in the monitoring help desk and the communication facility in the portal? Well, I mean, in practice for you, as mentioned, the communication help desk, the monitoring help desk is your main first contact point. And there, I mean, there they have the external monitoring team behind that help desk. They have a team that is filtering per category of question, and then allocating different people to answer the questions. So to ensure on the one hand, the maximum coherence between the answers that are provided to the different projects on similar questions, and then also, well, the best pertinence, and also in order to prevent SINEA from being bombarded directly by many questions through, for example, the portal. So they are also relieving us from some workload in this sense. Does the monitor get an automatic notification from the funding and tenders portal when changes happen? For example, when I use the chat, the funding and tenders portal. Yeah, so they're the ones who are receiving automatic notifications. For the moment is the PAs in SINEA. Now we are, indeed, it's important, as it's a good point, that the monitors should also be aware of this. So we are working on ensuring that also those automatic notifications arrive also to the monitors. For the moment, we are just forwarding them on the PAs themselves, and well, we will automatize the process. Yeah. Next one is during the visits. Yeah. No, just confirming. Are communications to the live help desk confidential? Yeah, so as said, yeah, they are confidential. So it's the team that is treating your communications is bound by a clause of confidentiality that is during both the project and up to 5 years after the end of the project. So yes, it's confidential. The next one, during the visits, will the monitor check the expenses?
Shall I take that one,
Sure.
Cesar?
Yeah, should we prepare?
Okay, so normally when the monitor comes for the first visit, they will do some checks just to see whether you are ready to have a good reporting. So they will check maybe some timesheets. At that point, you will not need to already have financial statements prepared, because the financial statements in the end, they will be prepared in the system. What you should do is keep track of all your expenses, and we will compose, as we said yesterday, we are busy with setting up a calculation sheet for all your staff costs, which will be ready by the 24th of October when we have the next meeting. There you could keep track, but of course, as you will have to enter all the salary costs, this thing is going to change every month. So I don't think that you should fill this every month. I think it is better to do this just before you have the next pre-financing. For the first additional pre-financing period, just before, you will receive also communication from us where we will do some checks on costs. This is just to help you to see whether you have understood the rules and if things are calculated in the correct way, because for most of your grants, we will only accept cost at final payment stage. So if there are errors, it is of course better that you know this in advance. So therefore we will do some checks, but monitors will not check your financial statements at the time that they do the visits. So we will just ask this information that you will submit, and then we will give you some feedback with the second pre-financing. If there are other questions on that, we can deal with them the 24th of October.
Yeah, because as you know, there is a more detailed session on the 24th of October, fully devoted to financial and legal aspects. So you are highly encouraged to attend as well. Okay, so thanks. And so next one, do we need to save the communication which took place via the portal for our own project records? I mean, from our side, there is no requirement on that because it's already saved in our systems. But I mean, feel free to do so, and why not? I mean, I think it can be a good practice. Yeah.
Yeah, just to say that the system is our system. So basically, it saves on our side, but it's also saved on your side via the grant management system, service. So it's saved somehow, and you can access it if you need it also in the future on your side, not only on our side. So you don't need to save it somewhere else.
Thanks, Nadia. Next one, is there a difference between live monitoring help desk and our personal monitor responsible? Yeah, so as said, I mean, in the live monitoring help desk, it's not just, it's not that you send a question to the help desk and then it always goes to the monitor of your project. So depending on the question, because there are some questions that are more or less generic that are common to many projects, some of those will be replied by some people behind the help desk that are dealing with the most common questions, let's say, and other questions which are like more of specific to your project, those will be internally channeled to your monitor who will reply. Yeah. The next one, our project is not displayed in the e-proposal section of the help desk. Is it normal? Well,
if I may, if you're referring to e-proposal, which was the system used in the previous editions of the LIFE program, where you were actually used to submit your project. So that's the e-proposal. There was a specific web tool. It's normal, yes. It's because you did not use e-proposal to submit to projects, so it's perfectly normal. But I don't know if you were referring to that specific. And you will have also, your project will be visible in the LIFE database soon. It will be published there as all the previous project of LIFE.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Nadia. Yeah, indeed, because this e-proposal tool, it was used for projects until the call of LIFE 20 call. And then for LIFE 21, LIFE 22, we are not using e-proposal anymore. So then no, we are not storing, you will not find information in e-proposal about any LIFE 21, 22 projects. Yeah. So what checks will do the technical monitors in their visits. How many visits will we receive during the implementation of the project? Well, regarding how many visits, in principle, there is 3 visits by default. So 1 during the first months of the lifetime of the project, which by default, generally, it will be a virtual visit. And then the second and third visits will be linked, more or less related a little bit, generally a little bit some months before your payments. So before the submission of the midterm further pre-financing report, and then before the final report. And what checks do the technical monitors do in their visits? Well, it depends on a little bit on the visit. Well, in the first visit, they will also not only do checks, but also provide you with more information and guidance on how to manage your project to ensure that you are properly reporting and administrating the project, so that there will be no problem afterwards to get you reimbursement from us. And regarding the technical implementation of your project, they will check, of course, that what you have promised to do in your project and to deliver in your project, well, that you are on good track to implement that there are no main deviations in the schedule, that you are also, for example, if you were if you suddenly you are now you need to subcontract, for example, some large item that was not foreseen. I mean, so they will ask you questions also related to that, of typical aspects that may be problematic, so that they will make sure that indeed there is nothing wrong with implementation of your project. And if there is, and also, for example, when you have some issues or delays, they will, well, then there is the perfect occasion for you to speak to your monitor to ask also for further advice and to take maybe some kind of guidance or decision, or to consult afterwards with SINEA. Yeah. Next one, will the external monitor help us with the KPIs? Yeah, so there we believe that now, with respect to previous years also, well, the current setup is better now, in the sense that you will be given babysitted a little bit, because the first step in the system will not be really done by you, but it will be done by one so-called KPI expert of the external monitoring team, who will, based on your project and features and yeah, field of the project, and also the KPIs that you listed in the part C of your proposal, they will set up the relevant KPI fields in the system for you afterwards to fill in. This, and also this setup of indicators will afterwards be also cross-checked by the monitor of your project, who has more deep technical expertise about your project in particular. Then it will arrive to you to fill in the values. There, if you have doubts, specific doubts when filling in the values, that's also an occasion to consult through the monitoring help desk. Yeah, so yeah, you will be indeed having the possibility to ask questions when filling in. Are the monitoring visits meant to be held together with the coordinator and all beneficiaries, or just with the coordinator? In principle, is with the whole consortium. They are important occasions, very important occasions, I think, of interaction with the monitor and with SINEA when we are coming, because, well, also not only the monitors, but the project advisors from SINEA, we come at least typically once in a lifetime of the project, and so not in the first visit, but more in the second or third visit. But also now in the first visit, because it's online, we may as well, when we have the time and the chance, we might as well, the project advisors, participate in this first visit. So it's very important that the whole consortium is there. Next one will there be guidance on how to use the continuous reporting function in the portal? So the guidance is not in the future. Will there be? No, there is guidance. Yeah, Nadia, I let you.
yeah, I will. That will be the subject of the next presentation.
Okay. Yes, true. Okay. Then, in the past, we had 1 monitoring visit per year. Now we have 3 or maximum 3 visits per project. So there are in principle now less visits. So as said, during the whole lifetime of the project, 3 visits. And now, depending, as said, on special circumstances of the project, for example, maybe if your project has a split further pre-financing, so there will not only be just 1 further pre-financing, but 2 further pre-financing, and then the final payment, then there will be an additional mission, because we link typically at least 1 mission per payment. And also, if during the lifetime of the project there would be some big issues that cannot be solved without a visit to your project, then we will have an additional visit to your project. Then, is there a difference between the life technical monitor and our personal monitoring responsible, or they are the same person? So, well,
I think you already replied to that question, César.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I think we can stop to reply. Thanks a lot. Thank you for posting so many questions, and thank you, César, Nadia, and Dan for reply to them. We hope to we managed to clarify your doubts, let's move on to the next presentation on the reporting and payments process. And I'm pleased to invite our colleague Nadia Lamandas for the next presentation. Please, Nadia, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Manuela. So, indeed, so what I will present now is the reporting and payment, and as I said, I will touch upon what are expected on the continuous reporting part, but also on the periodic reporting part, which are, so I will present that. Just for you to know as well, of course, everything is interlinked, but the presentation on reporting and payment and the next one on amendment is very much focused on the processes and the IT tool. So that's the angle that we want to present, the guidance on it. But of course, all this is complementing all what you just heard now, what you heard yesterday on the finance and what you will heard on the 24th of October. Next slide, please. So just to remind you that the system, the funding and tender portal, is very rich regarding guidance. So you have the online manual, and you can see here how to get it. One way to get it is when you enter into the grant management service, and you are very familiar now with that. You can directly be linked to the online manual on the various processes that you will have to deal with when you implement your project, and when you have to report, you have to ask for amendment and things like that. So very important that you read the online manual before, and if you haven't done that, I mean, it's really important you do this. Next slide. So the online manual is somehow explaining in plain word what is expected, and the IT how-to, this magic green button, is really leading you step by step, screenshot by screenshot, on how to deal with that specific process in the IT system. So here again, it's really full of information and very stepwise. You can't lose, you can't be lost, because they explain you what you see and they tell you what to do. Next slide. Of course, you can also enter via the support and guidance and manual. Next slide. So you heard a lot about the monitoring. So what the monitoring is about, it's exactly what César already said, is basically verifying that you are implementing the project as you said that you would do. You are just out of the gap phase, the grant agreement preparation phase. So it's very vivid. You know very well what you are doing, but this description of the action is somehow a bit of our common understanding of what we are expecting from you during the entire implementation. We all know that things that you have written even today might not yet be exactly the same in a few years' time. And this is perfectly understandable. So the deviation, as we already talked about that, are perfectly understandable, and not all deviation lead to amendment. Some of them leads to information. We are informed about them, and this is perfectly fine. We understand that you might have few delays, you might have to change a bit the scope of some of the activity. What is really important is that the main objective of your project and somehow what makes us award this project specifically still remain. This we can't really deviate from that, because this is somehow what we call the no-go. What is also important during the monitoring is that we will assess the eligibility of the cost claim. You heard a lot yesterday about the financial aspect of it, but of course there is also a technical aspect to it. All the costs should be linked to the action. All the costs should be reasonable in terms of amount, but also in terms of if they are necessary to implement the action as it was. So this is also not only financial, but it's also very much technical, and this is what we will monitor. Of course, to achieve that, we have the visits, we heard about that, and we have also the report, and we have an important element, which are the deliverables. The deliverables are really for us like the evidence that you have actually implemented something. So they are an important element of the monitoring. Next slide. So the timing, as I said, there are two ways to monitor. There is the continuous monitoring, and on your side, you will inform us continuously on where you are by, for example, uploading the deliverable, updating the continuous monitoring module, and I will explain how. But there are also some key event. Of course, as I said, the visit is are important ones, but there are also the reporting ones. So at the end of reporting period, and it's linked to payment, so additional pre-financing or final payment, there is also here a large, on your side, it's an important element where you will really explain it and give us the snapshot at the end of the period where you are with your project implementation. Next slide. So here, this is a scheme showing that most of the standard action project that you are all implementing today have normally one additional pre-financing, in addition to the first pre-financing that you all have received normally already. So, and you have a final payment. So, and this is the basically you have two periods. Project start, the first period, and the second period at the project ends. So during all the project duration, you have the continuous reporting modules, the place where you will put your main achievement, where you will upload your deliverables, and you have those moments at the end of the first period and at the end of the final, at the end of the project, where you will submit reports. Next slide. So the reporting obligations are in the grant agreement, so including the continuous one. So in the grant agreement, we mentioned that, of course, you have to continuously inform us about your project progress. And there is the two additional pre-financing report and to get the additional pre-financing payment, and the final report to get the final payment, the balance. So all of them are submitted via the portal, and I will explain how. What is an important information is that it's 60 days. So at the end of the period, you have 60 days as consortium to upload that information. It's not a lot, especially if you have to ensure that all the parts, you have a large partnership, for instance, so all the beneficiary will have to enter their data. And as coordinator, you will have also to make sure that this data makes sense, there is a consistency, and that you will submit it for SINEA assessment. So, of course, you will have to prepare that a bit in advance. Of course, you can also have a few delays, and where it's key here is that you have to communicate about that. In case you know that there are some issues, you might communicate. Just remember, any change of the actual reporting period requires an amendment. So, of course, if you have 1 week delay in the submission, you can explain us. If it's much more than that, you have to inform us, and we may have to do an amendment if it's necessary. Next slide. Next slide, please. So the continuous reporting module, it's activated the day when your project starts, the first day of your implementation. So here, I will not spend time here. I just separate, and you will look at that when you will get to the presentation. So we have tab, and you will see it, which are mandatory to fill, and tab which are not mandatory. Next slide. Alors, next slide. This is the way you know that by heart now how to log in. Next slide. You go via Manage My Project. Next slide. Here it is. This is where you land. You land in a part where you see. Alors, this is an interesting an example, because you see here the continuous reporting, and you still see that the gap is visible. After a while, the gap will not be visible anymore. It will be archived in archived processes. So, but the continuous reporting, the project has started, and therefore the continuous reporting is there. Next slide. So this is where you land when you click on continuous reporting. You have, it's a specific module where you have access all the time to different tabs. The first tab is the tab on the project summary. So when we say all the tabs are mandatory, you see there is a cross here. It means that if you don't fill all the field, you can't have this green check. It means also that you can, as soon as you have started your project implementation, you may have some progress to share with us. You can start inputting that information under this tab. You will have to provide all the tabs at once to be able to save to have the green check. What is important here is that this information will be published in the Funding and Tender portal as soon as we have the first report accepted. It's not published, let's say, all the time in real time. It's only published and therefore updated at the end of the periodic report, when the reports are accepted. So somehow, in your case, twice during your project implementation. But still, you can update it as you go. So basically, if you have a very important achievement that you want to share with CINEA, you can start putting that information in this project summary. We also, because it's published, recommend you to use that as a bit of a portal via the Funding and Tender portal, a portal of what you have done, and also recommended to put image, to put the logos and things like that. All this can be used because it's one of the entry point of your project via the Funding and Tender portal. Obviously, other which will be your project web page and things like that, or the live database. But this will be one of them as well. Next slide. So deliverables, that's the masterpiece of that continuous reporting. Why? As I said, if deliverables are really the evidence that you are implementing your project and you have concrete results that we can read, we can assess, and we can, judge also how far you went in the different activity that you planned. So here, what you have is that when your project starts, all the deliverables are pending. So basically, you have not yet introduced any deliverables. You know that some, for example, work package are led by different beneficiaries if you have a consortium. It's not always the coordinator which is a lead beneficiary in a specific work package. So basically, the responsible of a specific deliverable can upload. Any beneficiary can upload a draft deliverable, but it's only the coordinator that can officially submit the deliverable in the system. When the deliverable is submitted, you can't update it. So you can update deliverable when they are in draft status, but you can't update it when it's submitted. When it's submitted, it's on our side, if you wish. So it's us who have to do something. Either we accept it, if we accept it because it's accepted, and we do that usually when we assess your report. We do not that on the continuous reporting. We may also accept some deliverables after a visit, for instance, when they have been submitted, assessed, and therefore accepted. And but we may also reopen them. So, for example, if we are not convinced about the quality of that deliverable, or if that deliverable does not match our expectation or what you said you would do, we would reopen the deliverable to allow you to resubmit it, to resubmit the draft and resubmit the final version. The rejection button exists as well, and this rejection, you can't re-upload it. It's just we close, if we wish, we close the channel here on that specific deliverables. One important element also is that if the dissemination level of your deliverable is public, as soon as the project advisor accepts it, it's also made public outside in the funding and tender project. So it's really important that you know that. It's really important that when you upload a public label deliverable, that it will be seen as soon as it will be accepted. So I know that for some deliverable on nature, for example, where you don't want to, for example, share location on species, or if you put information on your business that you should not have put in that deliverable, be careful. If the deliverable is is public, you should not upload that deliverable. And you contact us, contact your monitor, contact us, and we can see what we have to do in that specific situation. And just to remind, you have PU, which is public, and SENS, which is sensitive, and this it's not made public it's really confidential. Okay, next slide, please. So the milestone. Alors, maybe one last slide because I forgot to say something. Just go back to the last. Thanks a lot. So here you have an estimated deliverable date that you set when you finish the gap. Of course, nothing happens if you are late. Nothing happens. The system do not block you to upload a deliverable if you are late. So if you are late or for 1, 2, 3 weeks, I mean, nothing will happen. You are just late, and you will submit it a bit later. What is important you can always ask us, and this does not require an amendment, to ask the PA to change the delivery date. So we can do that, of course. And one thing which I would advise is that you ask that if, for example, you know that you won't be able to deliver a deliverable which is due in a specific period during that period. Why? Because we expect that deliverable to be submitted. And when we will assess the report, we expect that it's submitted. And if it's not, you have to justify why. So if you know that you won't be able to submit it for any reason, you can ask to change it to a date in the next period. And you will have to explain why, of course. And here again, if it's linked to minor deviation, there is no problem. We don't need an amendment. If it's linked to actually large deviation, things that will require an amendment, that's another story. And we will indeed screen this situation and give you the course of action. Next slide. Alors, on the milestone, it's also a tab that we expect, and it's also a very important tab for us because this is where we see the achievement of your project. Alors, the delivery date here cannot be changed by us, by the PA. It would require an amendment if we need to change it. And here it's important that indeed, when you have achieved one of those milestones that we jointly agreed to, that you propose and we agree to, please go to the continuous reporting module and update. You can put comments, and all this is really important for us also to be able to assess how you move in your project progress. Next slide. The critical risks are also very important, especially for you, because what you have assessed few risks that you have identified risk, and it's important to keep that list up to date. You can add new risk as well, because we know there are always a lot of, let's say, events that may impact your project or may not, but this is the risk. So, and what is the mitigation measure that you can have to minimize this risk or to adapt to the risk? Next slide. Alors, here we are in the set of the 3 non-mandatory tabs. Alors, of course, those tabs can be updated if you think it's the right way to do it. So basically, why we keep it not mandatory is because this information can also be shared with us, maybe in a more synthetic way in the report. So basically, it's really up to you. It's really up to your project setting. As you can see, dissemination and communication, you have that in all projects. It's part of your project. It's part of what we expect you to do. Disseminate your results, communicate on your activity. And of course, you can use the 2 tabs to enter each of the activities. But you can also decide this is a bit too tedious and too cumbersome to each time enter there. I will keep an Excel sheet, for example, where I will have, a table where I will have all those information, and I will share it at the end of the periodic report. So it's not that we don't want to see that, but we offer you the alternative to either use the IT system or use the reporting, use another way, which will be in the report. On the financial support to third party, alors this does not, it's the famous cascading grant. Obviously, not all projects have this type of cost, so it's only specific project who, if it's in your grant agreement, you have it. If it's not in your grant agreement, it's not eligible. You can't give part of your grant to other parties, and this would require an amendment. This is a clear thing that would require an amendment if you want to have financial support to third party and you don't yet have it. Here, what is important is that if you have it, what is important is that you share with us what is the selection procedure you implemented. And there, normally, you have a specific deliverable for that. So please use that channel to explain to us how you did the selection of your grantees. Voilà. So do not use the financial support to third party tab. The deliverable is a much, for us, simple way, and in one place, all the information about the selection procedure. Next slide. Next slide. So we talk a lot about this continuous reporting. Now, a few slides on what to do at the moment at the end of each period. Alors, it's important to note again that so you have the 60 days. So the system open, you are notified. All the beneficiaries are notified. So, and at this moment, you have to compose 2 things: technical report and financial report. On the technical report, the system helps you also to compose the technical report by extracting the part which is in the continuous reporting. So you don't have to do it twice if you want. So when you enter, this is why it's important to enter continuously the project information on the project summary, the deliverables, the milestone, and all that will be extracted and put in your technical report. Then you have the part B, which is a bit more on your type. You have a template, and you will have to enter the data. Next slide. So the financial report here, it's purely online. You have to enter the data, either for additional pre-financing of the final report. And here, this is the list of things. For you, most of you, it's not today, it's far away in the future. So I will not spend too much time on that, and you will see how to do, and the guidance is very precise. Next slide. So as I said, all projects are, all beneficiaries are notified. All beneficiaries contribute to the technical part when they are responsible of, complete their own statement, and it's the coordinator who approve it and submit it to us, and we assess. Next slide. The summary of the process, this is a bit said the same. So what is really important here is the role of the coordinator. The coordinator makes sure that what is included in by each beneficiary makes sense, ask to review, and log for review, and then sign it and send it on behalf of the consortium to us. But as you can see, all beneficiaries have a role to play also internally, both on financial and technical part. Next slide. So that's the entry point via the grant management service. Next slide. Okay, so what I was saying is that it's not periodic versus continuous, it goes together. So the continuous reporting is updated all along. You can update it until the coordinator click log for review. When the coordinator click and click log for review before submitting it, what's happening is that it freezes the continuous reporting data and imported it in the technical report. Okay, so and any update that you would do on the other side on the continuous reporting would not be seen in the technical report submitted to us. Next slide. So that's the link when it's only when the period is open that you can access the template. You can see already a PDF version under the funding internal portal if you wish to. Next slide. Alors, for most of you, the next things will be to request additional pre-financing. This is how you will click on request for pre-financing. Next slide. And you will hear, this is the only financial element, apart from the one that, as Anne Vermalen was mentioning, that you may put in the technical report. There is a section where under budget and resources, where you could, for example, explain some of the deviation that you had. You did not use, for example, subcontractor, or you use a subcontractor that was not exactly foreseen to replace work done by your own personnel, for instance, that you would do in the report. Okay, but here what you will put is what you have consumed. So basically the amount of your cost during the period multiplied by the co-funding rate. This is the information and the only information that you have to put here at the pre-financing stage. Next slide. Alors, that's the final report and the financial statement. I think it's my last slide. And you can see here, this is much more complete, and you have all the financial statements to have to do, all the financial certificates if you have to. And here the guidance is very detailed. As I said, most of you, it's in only 3 years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I think the best is that you will get the guidance again when times come on that part. Next slide. Yeah, so here I still have 1 minute. So what is important here is that when you submit the report, you can see here you have the blue line. It's on our in the grant management services. The line now in the metro line is blue, is because it's us. So what we do, we assess. We can accept the report. The payment is proceed. We can ask for information. For example, if we have issues related to what you put in your report, it could be technical, could be financial, we would ask the information. Obviously, there is also the, and we can also reject the report. We only reject the report if we ask you to modify the data that you have entered. So we do not ask you to, we do not reject the report because we have a question on that. It's a more additional information, but both additional information and rejection would suspend the payment. Next slide. Voilà. Just the last things, I do have 1 minute. The last thing I wanted to say also, just to remind what Anne said, just before you will get your additional, just at the moment where you additional pre-information at the end of the first period, you will receive a communication from us asking you to provide us some financial data linked to, and that will, we will do the ex-ante checks to help you, as Anne was mentioning, to help you to identify potential mistakes in the way you estimate your costs. And therefore, it's this information, these findings will be shared with you with the findings on the first report. So I think.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you very much for your clear presentation. We will open the Q&A session for the reporting and payments after the break and after the second presentation on the amendment process from Nadia by Nadia. So I can see now more than 500 people connected. Thanks a lot. But now it's time for us to take a break, 15-minute break to get a coffee, tea, or to refresh your mind, our mind. So we will resume in 10:30. Thank you very much and see you in 15 minutes. So thanks for coming back. I can see 500 people connected, so I think we can resume this session with the second presentation by Nadia on the amendment process, and then we will open the Q&A session for the Nadia presentation. So please, Nadia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So sorry to have again a presentation. You will have to hear me again. Now this presentation is focused on amendment. As I said, of course, this does not replace the presentation that you will have on the 24th. That will complement, I mean, that will be more on when do we need to request an amendment, what is a minor deviation, what is the simplified approval procedure. All that you will hear in detail during the 24th presentation. There is a specific session on amendment, termination and suspension. Next slide. So this presentation is really when you know that you have to request an amendment. So that the deviation is somehow linked to either the grant agreement data sheet, that's a specific part in your grant agreement that you should be familiar with it because you just signed the grant agreement, where it's you have the duration, you have the amounts, you have the co-funding rate, you have the reporting period set there as well. You have also a different element there that if those elements are modified, it leads to an amendment. Alors, one thing as well is that, for example, and we said that already, if you have a change in your entity, for example, a legal change, you change the address, for example, all this must be communicated to to CINEA or to the Commission, to the EU, but this does not require an amendment requested by you. It's directly via the participant portal, participant register portal, that you change, and it will be one of the amendments, but we will only be informed. It will be an information procedures. So CINEA do not have anything to do there. It's really between the central services validation that you have been interacting with during the gap, and you as entity that the communication will be, and we will see it in the system, the outcome of that. So this presentation is really, as I said, on this specific amendment where you will change something. For example, one beneficiary is going out and you need to have a new one. Next slide. So the amendment, as everything in the grant management service, the funding internal portal, is paperless. So you have a flow, a workflow directly in the system. It's endorsed with e-signature. As we said, you can ask and we will assess, we can accept or reject. You can also cancel the amendment if you haven't submitted it, or you can withdraw it as long as we haven't signed it. If CINEA has signed an amendment, the things are sealed, and actually the grant agreement has been modified and you can't withdraw. It would require a new amendment. When you submit your amendment, when you submit it, actually, not when you launch it, there is 45 days for us to assess it. Of course, we can extend that deadline if we have some issues, but usually we try to bound with this for 45 days. Next slide. So you heard a lot about the monitoring. So based monitoring expert, the external monitoring. Why? Because actually they are here to support. They are here to screen your deviations, if I may say. So in a large scale, I already said that there are some deviations we know, like for example, change of partnership. We know it is an amendment, but even there, it's important that you contact your monitor via the monitoring help desk, and you will here be, or if you are a partner, you have to contact the coordinating beneficiary first, of course. If you are not the coordinating beneficiary and you don't want to work anymore on the project, of course, you have to deal first within the consortium and explain that. And there, the coordinating beneficiary contact the monitoring help desk. First, it's important that they are, we are collectively informed about that. And then we will also, in some complex amendment, they will guide you towards the preparation of that amendment, guide you both outside the system and in the system. So it's really beneficial for you to inform as soon as you have something a deviation to communicate to us. And maybe I will skip that, but this is a bit of a list of things that you will have to think, because some changes requires action before the amendment is able to be even submitted by you. Like, for example, if you have a new beneficiary, I mean, you have to have this beneficiary already validated by the central services before he can sign. He can sign his accession form and his declaration of owner. You will have a specific presentation on that. Next slide. So the amendment is in 3 steps. So you have the preparation where you know that you have to do an amendment. So therefore you launch it. This is few clicks. You will see it's very quick actually. The big part is the preparation, where you compose your amendment, and the IT system helps you a lot. And when you have to have this interaction with CINEA, for us to tell you, okay, you can submit it. So, and then you submit it, and it's out of your hand unless you want to withdraw. Next slide. So this, you log in. Next slide. You go to my project, you select your project, you go to my next slide. Manage project, next slide. and you land in what is now very known to you, the grant management service. And there, as you see here, you have the continuous reporting, as we said just before, this is there. And here you have already an amendment which has been launched because you have the consortium requested amendment launch. Next slide. So how you launch that? You launch by clicking on the plus, launch new interaction with the EU. Next slide. And this is what you get. You have the first possibility is to request an amendment. You can start from scratch, meaning that you can start from the latest legal data that is in your system. The legal data is the one that either you just have now because you have just finished the gap, and this is the, let's say, the initial data, or if you had a previous amendment, it will be that one, which will be the latest legal data. But the system allows you also to reuse some of the changes that you have done before. If, for example, we rejected an amendment that you requested, for example, I just give an example that I will use all the time. You asked for 48 months of delay, but you did not really justify why, okay? And we are not convinced this is really what we should accept. So basically we reject that. I will explain that later on. But okay, it's rejected. So you want to do it again and reduce a bit the extension date. And this is where, for example, you would reuse some of the changes that you have already introduced. Next slide. So the preparation, as I said, it's the main part. This is where you will implement the changes that you want in the different tab of the grant agreement that you have already done during the gap. And the system will process that information, will select automatically the relevant clauses that are modified, will list any compulsory supporting document that are requested, like, for instance, the declaration of honor if there is a new beneficiary, or the accession form, or voilà, this type of element that we expect to see. And the IT system also provide some overview and tracking of all the changes, which can be very, very helpful. Next slide. So when you prepare, this is what you get. So basically it's open again, all the tabs. So what you will do, you will go tab by tab. If, of course, you can, for example, in the same amendment, request for an extension, request for a change of partnership, and request of a change of budget, for instance. So you will have to work on different tabs. Next slide. So, for example, that's an example where you need to change the duration. So that's a relatively easy one. So you have the change of duration here that you can put the new duration. Next slide. That's the new beneficiary. So that also seems very simple. So you click on add new beneficiary. This was one consortium, one coordinator, and he has now a requirement to have a new beneficiary. He wants to propose that. So basically, he will enter the data of that beneficiary. You see already here that, of course, this beneficiary must have a PIC. So if the beneficiary doesn't have a PIC, it can't be added at this stage. So this is all the preparation phase. And you have also to have thought, when do we want this beneficiary to start working in the project? So that's the second part on the date. Next slide. So as you see here, the new beneficiary have to sign declaration of honor. I already mentioned that, have to sign the accession form, and all this must be done before the amendment is signed on your side, is submitted. So, and you see here, for example, the IT system prompt, and this is the screenshot on the top, prompt the fact that you have to have a new Annex 1 description of the action. Why? If you have a new beneficiary, this beneficiary have a role. So you have to explain in the new description of the action, the role of that new beneficiary. Seems very logical. As I say also, if you look to the screenshot, the little highlight in purple, this means that if it's highlighted in purple like that, there was a change, new of course, but also on the active, there wasn't change on the active, the coordinator here. I don't, maybe they have changed something in the related to that specific beneficiary, and the system highlighted. So it helps us also to identify immediately what is modified. Next slide. So this is the place where actually the specific beneficiary will have to sign both the accession form and the declaration. I repeat it, this, so to be able to do that, their PIC must be validated. They must have also their project legal signatory assigned. Next slide. So you can change also work packages. So when you have, for example, some heavy change in the activity and the work packages, you can update them. Careful, as we said earlier, we cannot have a new project. Of course, all those changes must not question the award, the fact that we have awarded your project. So here, of course, all those changes must remain in the scope of your project initial objectives and ambition as well. It's really important. Here, as you said, you can add new work package, you can update package, you can remove package. All this, it's possible. Next slide. Alors, for the deliverable, as I said, the date, the date where we expect the deliverable to be submitted, this does not require an amendment. All the other aspects, like the dissemination level, change from public to sensitive, or a really important, or the deletion of the deliverable, or the fact that you change deeply the impact, the description of the deliverable, for example, and that has an impact on how the work package is implemented. All that could be considered as major deviation that would require an amendment. This is where it's a bit of a gray area, and this is where it's really important that you communicate with the monitoring help desk, explaining the situation, and most of the time the screening can be that, okay, those changes are minor deviation and do not require an amendment. However, we are informed about that. Okay, and you can report that later on in your reports. Next slide. So, as I said, all the changes that you will do in the different tabs, when applicable, will be then reflected in the amendment information tab. This is where you have the overview. This is where you have the clauses, and the clauses are automatically selected, apart from some which we, CINEA, have to select them. But the one on your side will be automatically selected. Very handy. Next slide. So what the system does as well, they constitute the amendment. So it's not paper, so it's IT. So you can see here what is red. What is red is actually what has been included, what has been identified as changes. Like here, it's the change, it's very small. This change of the duration, for example. So it says that the change of duration, it's one of the change. And what you have also, next slide, please. Part of the package, you have the amendment, but you have also the request for amendment. It seems a bit odd, but actually it's a very important aspect. So basically, what you when you sustain your amendment, you do not have to re-explain what are the changes or limit to that, but what you have to do, you have to explain why you have to change. So this justification is really something which is important to work on, to make it concise, but still very complete in the justification of what you propose. For example, you have also to clearly put, let's say, explain us that what you propose do not modify the implementation. Sometimes you have, for example, large changes, but still those changes are required because of a change of context, for instance. And you can justify that despite those changes, could be budget, whatever, partnership, you are still actually fulfilling the objective of your and the ambition of your project. And this is where we will expect you to explain that. Of course, here, if it's very, very long, you can always add a supporting document that will be also added, like a justification, an annex, that you will be also added to your package. So there is a way here to add new document if you really need to explain much more what the reason why you have to have this amendment. Next slide. So as the same logic than the report, what's going on? It's, for example, there are some changes, for example, on some deliverable that could be included by different beneficiary, okay? At one stage, it has to be locked for review for the coordinator to check all the changes that were entered in, okay? So that's really important. This is a step where the coordinator plays its role of coordinator and make sure that what has been potentially put by other beneficiary makes sense. And if the technical monitor are guiding you in the preparation, this they will tell you in the beginning when they will be informed that there is a grant agreement. As we say, we only have that support if it's a complex amendment. And therefore, there is the moment to consult them. So you lock and you do your check and you consider this is good, and you contact the monitor and asking them to review what is locked for review. And here there could be some back and forth between you and the technical monitor before it's submitted to CINEA for the informal review. Next slide. So there we are. So the informal review of CINEA officer is what? Is an informal step. It's not a step where we will tell, okay, we accept your amendment. First, because the CINEA officer, project advisor, financial officer, if there is any change on the financial aspect, are not the one entitled to do that. Actually, it's only the authorizing officer that can say, yes, I accept the changes. He and she, they are the person signing the amendment, actually. So, but what we can already give you is, okay, it looks like it's complete. It looks like it's admissible as an amendment, that you have put the right justification and all this. We can also say that we don't think the justification is enough. So basically we give an opinion, and of course it's up to you to think about that and do the changes if necessary. Next slide. So that's a bit of the ping pong that we have. So basically we review the amendment request, and of course the request we cannot change anything. It's on our side, and we can ask for revision. You can change and you can resubmit until we say okay. And we say that in the system. So basically in the system, we say that you can submit this amendment, and you will get that information very clear. Before you submit, you can always cancel the amendment. And but of course, after you submit, the next slide. So that's the submission. The submission is done by the project the PL side, so the project legal signatory, the one that might have signed the contract agreement, or another one if you had to change that person in the system. And he does it on behalf, or they do it on behalf of the consortium. It will be a NIF signatory, and there the amendment is completely sealed. No changes is possible. So there is only one signature, but it's already signed. Okay. Next slide. So we assess it. So we assess the amendment. We can, as I said, reject or agree, and we have 45 days to do that. And as I said, you can always withdraw. It's not a cancellation there because it has been signed. It's a withdrawal, and it's only the PL sign that can do that. Of course, is the one signing it, is the one that can withdraw it. Next slide. So what happens in case of rejection? Actually, you will get a letter. So as I said, you can decide to go on with an amendment that the project advisor, for instance, said that it was not sufficiently justified, and that may lead to a rejection. You can still say, no, I want to submit that amendment. Okay, you will submit it, and you may get a rejection letter or not. Next slide. Just a reminder, if it's rejected and you want to think about it and resubmit it, you can always take that amendment and you start it from there to redo your changes. Next slide. So let's be positive, it's accepted. So it's accepted, CNEA sign it. So basically, you, not only the coordinator, but I think that all beneficiaries are informed, and that becomes the latest legal data. Next slide. So that's a specific case I want just to highlight because it happens relatively often. It's when a beneficiary is terminating his participation. So it can be voluntarily, as I said in the beginning, a beneficiary doesn't want to work anymore on the project. He informed the coordinating beneficiary, and the coordinator beneficiary has to first convince him to stay, or, okay, already take action. So this requires an amendment. So what is important as well is that when we accept your project, we accept your project also based on the fact that you have the right consortium to implement it. So if you change the consortium, we want to receive the justification or be convinced that you still have the right consortium to implement it. So, however, when you ask and you sign and you submit the fact that one beneficiary is terminated, this is active, effective, even if we refuse the amendment. So the case is that, for example, you consider that there is a key beneficiary. This key beneficiary doesn't want to work anymore, okay? And you consider that you can continue without it. You, as consortium, we disagree, okay? So you submit your amendment as such, and we reject it. In that case, the project is somehow on our side, not anymore in the condition that it can be implemented. However, it's not terminated. The project continues, but we will request you to find a solution, to find an alternative. Meanwhile, the coordinating beneficiary the beneficiary that terminates is still terminated. Next slide. So just one thing. So for example, your beneficiary said in month 6, I don't want to work anymore in that project. Okay, I doesn't have the capacity anymore. He stopped. You take few months trying to convince him to continue. Okay, month 9, you realize, well, this is not possible, and you launch the amendment. So here you have 2 dates which are important. The exit date, so it's the date where the beneficiary said, okay, he actually stopped. So no more cost will be eligible for that beneficiary after the end of work date. And you have the termination date, which is later because you took a few months to try to convince this beneficiary. So those dates are important to put in the system. And on the 24th, we will also discuss a bit more on the consequences of a termination of a beneficiary. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so just for you to know, until you submit the amendment, you can always undo the action. When you have submitted, as I said, the termination is effective. It's not, you can't come back. If you want to come back, you have to redo an amendment, putting this beneficiary back. Okay, so that's just for you for us to be really clear. Next slide. And voila. So just for example, this is, for example, a case again where the system helps you. So the opinion letter of a living beneficiary is a mandatory element that we expect, for example, that you have to put in the document letter, and that will be part actually of the amendment package. I think that's my last. Well, I don't know what about the timing, if I was not too long.
You are on time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nadia. So we are ready for the Q&A session related to the reporting and payments and to the amendment process. We will have about 30 minutes for your question and for replying from our side. So I would like also invite maybe Anna and Lisine to support you in for replying. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the first question. Can we change the dissemination level of some deliverables from what was foreseen in the proposal? Yes, you can, and you should. If, for example, a project was a deliverable was foreseen public, and that you do not want that deliverable to be published when accepted. So in that case, please contact your monitoring help desk and explain the situation, and they will guide you what to do. Here again, it could be an urgent action or a less urgent action. For example, you could wait and combine, for example, deliverable changes before the reporting, the end of the reporting phase.
Also the same for EU classified deliverables as well.
Yes, alors normally I hope in that gap we were a bit cautious on the fact that we make sure that all the deliverables should be either sensitive or sense or publishable, PU. So indeed, if you have a deliverable which is not one of the two, this is not correct, because you won't be able to upload the deliverable actually if it's confidential, EU confidential. The systems block you to upload because you need a specific channel to upload it. So here again, please contact your monitoring help desk. Thanks, Cesar. Do all the beneficiaries have access to the continuous reporting? No, all the beneficiaries have access to the continuous reporting, not only the coordinator. Could you please suggest, coordinator, what financial control should they make about costs incurred by other beneficiaries? So this is either Licinia or Anne.
Shall I take it? Well, normally I would say that the coordinator needs to make sure that all the participants within the consortium, that they understand how they need to declare their costs, also how they need to calculate their staff cost, which is probably the most complex. So it would be good that before reporting periods come up, that this is checked within the consortium to make sure that everybody understands what they have to do, and otherwise still questions can be asked to us. Then it is also up to the coordinator to organize together with the other partners to see when he would like to receive feedback from all the different participants on how their spending is going. So as I said, it is not necessary to update every month maybe the spending on the staff costs, because it depends, it's a lot of work filling in these tables, but on a regular time frame the coordinator may want to have a view on what is exactly the situation.
We hear you a bit faint.
That they will, excuse me?
You should put down the thing to hear you better.
Oh, sorry. So it is up to the coordinator to agree with the partners when they would report on what they have exactly spent. Every partner should keep, at least also for all the other expenses, an overview of the cost, because as you will see, and what we said already yesterday, not all costs will need to be reported. So it is only the highest costs, and it depends on the spending in the staff cost category. So I would also suggest that when there is a monitoring visit coming on, a project visit, that at least at that moment, that the coordinator has a view on what has been the expenses within the project, so that especially when your second pre-financing is coming up, that you know well in advance, will the consortium make the threshold to get the next pre-financing? Because if you already know that you will not reach the threshold to get your next pre-financing, it might be better to request a change of the midterm report. Because otherwise, if we have to pay, you will get only part of your second pre-financing because we will have to deduct part of it up to the threshold that you did not reach. So these are little things. We will go into it probably on the 24th of October, but it is important for the coordinators to take a leading role in the financial control. So it's not that they have to check every cost and invoices, that's not what we mean, but follow up on the spending and making sure that beneficiaries, the other partners, that they really understand what is requested from them and that they understand how to do the reporting. So in principle, no need for coordinators to collect information or documents or invoices and so on, except when, for example, project visits are scheduled and if the monitors would request to see certain information. Otherwise, every partner will have to keep his own documentation.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. So now, when updating the deliverables and milestone in the continuous reporting, is it possible to make changes, or the first upload is it definitive? This is interesting. So as I said, there is 2 steps. So first you upload, but you upload a draft, and this can be done by any beneficiaries. For example, if a specific work package is led by a different beneficiary than the coordinating beneficiary. But it will be the coordinating beneficiary that will submit the draft. So if it remains in draft, it's not officially submitted to us, and it will not be extracted when we will do in the list of submitted deliverable at the end of the periodic report. So it's a 2-step thing. And of course, the draft can be changed anytime. So you can re-upload new draft until you have submitted. When you have submitted, it's the one that we will assess. Okay. So the dates can be changed. As I said, it's of course few delays. You do not worry about that. It's not an issue. I mean, long delays that makes the delivery date change from one period to another, that would require indeed information and asking a justification, because it may mean that there are other issues in the implementation that we need to know. Deliverable. Can PA or monitor view the draft deliverable between the moment of uploading and submission? Alors, I'm not sure about the question. Is the question that we can access it, or the question is that we can look at it? Actually, the access, I think we can. Yes, we can access the deliverable. We can download it if we would like to. If it's, will we? No, we will not. Actually, normally we will not. And we wish we would have time for that, but obviously we don't. How many months before the end of the reporting period will be? Actually, the end of the reporting period is the beginning of the opening of the reporting module. So it's the other way around. So and you have 2 months. So basically, you have 60 days between the fact that the reporting period is ended. So it's opening the reporting module, okay, for 60 days. As I said, nothing happened if you did not finalize the submission in 60 days. We ask you to do it. We want to be informed if you have delays, but it doesn't close the reporting module, okay? It says open. This is what I wanted to say. Can we change the delivery status from public to sensitive or confidential? Alors, yes. Confidential, no. It's sensitive / confidential. What we can't use is the EU confidential, but we can use the public or the sensitive, and this would require an amendment. Okay, this is what I said already several times. It requires an amendment, and it's important to notify us when you have an issue about a public label deliverable. In addition to monthly declaration of personal...
also maybe, Nadia, because it was asked also on how to do it. I mean, yes, to notify us, and also in the public, I mean, in the guidance that is in the funding and tenders portal, there is clear instructions on how to do it. So go there, and in the IT support part, you will see. Yeah.
It will be in the course of an amendment, of course, and you saw the screenshot, and you will have to, when you will open the amendment, you will do the changes over there of the status. This is how you do it. So in addition to the monthly declaration of personal costs referred to the annotated grant agreement, is this obligation provided elsewhere, EU Lex?
Well, I think that it is not a monthly declaration of the personal cost. I think that we refer to the monthly declaration of the time that is spent on the project. So that in principle, beneficiaries or staff of beneficiaries, they will encode the time spent probably on a daily basis. Every month, this should, of course, be validated by the person working by the superior. Why is this done monthly? This is because the system should be reliable. If you only encode your time 1 year after you spent the days on the project, it's not really reliable. So therefore, we say this should be on a monthly basis. There is in the contract, of course, the way that you need to calculate the staff cost of the employees. This is the daily rate multiplied by the number of days worked. So it is clear that you need to have a reliable number of days worked on the project and the link. I don't think it's anywhere else in the EU Lex that you will find it, but it's a contractual requirement because you need to link the days that you spend on the project with the project. There should be a direct link. So if you don't have reliable recording system, then of course you cannot link the days, and then you can of course not declare them. So I hope that is what this question means, because for the personal cost, you don't need to declare it every month.
Yes, so but if I just made, I think maybe if this is a question to ask if the template which is in the funding portal with the monthly declaration that we recommend, it's not an obligation.
No.
So there it's not an obligation. You either have this possibility to use this template or a reliable and similar registration procedure. And this we mentioned yesterday as well.
Yes,
so you will not find this in the EU Lex, you will find the template in the funding portal.
Yes, and the record keeping article, it's number 20, that can also be consulted in the annotated grant agreement that describes how this should be done, the registration of the time, if you use your own timesheet system. So it's better to have a look already there, and then on the 24th, if there are other questions, we can go deeper into it.
Okay, thanks. So would a change in the date of a milestone be a couple of months with no other impact requires an amendment? No. No, it does not require an amendment. So voilà, it does not. I mean, you don't have any impact. You don't change the milestone. So basically, it's only a bit delayed, which we perfectly understand. What is CORDIS? Good point. CORDIS is the database, the public database of the funding and tender portal. Maybe I should revise and remove this acronym, which is indeed a bit misleading because I did not spell it. So, but that's the public database where the information is extracted from the grant management services, the legal data that you have put and all the reporting, and the one that you specify are public, when accepted, will be published in the database. Can all beneficiaries, are you, wait, maybe I can reply to, can all beneficiary request an amendment, or it's only the coordinator? It's only the coordinator. However, all the beneficiary can work on the amendment. So that's an important point. Now, are you able to shift the budget between package and allowance? Increase the travel budget? Does this require an amendment? So we will discuss that more on the 24th. Of course, there is a lot of flexibility in the system. And you want to say something here? You are muted, Anne.
Most of the budget can be shifted except certain budget categories. So like volunteers or so, these costs, they cannot be shifted without an amendment. So it depends where you would like to take the money from or would like to move the money to. So this is something that you will have to check first.
Thanks. Submission of deliverable, milestone, critical risk is always done by the coordinator. Not necessarily, as I said, the submission, the submission part, no. Probably the milestone and critical risk, it could be, that I'm sorry, maybe I will have to check, but the guidance is very clear on that. So please check the guidance on the milestone and the critical risk. I know for the deliverables for sure that beneficiary can upload them, but they will be submitted only by the coordinating beneficiary. For the deliverable, there is no need to upload the document, just a flag in the system correct. But no, most of the time we request a document. So it's not just a flag, it's a flag for the milestone. The milestone, you flag that you have achieved it, and you put a date, and you can put comments. But deliverable, it's an upload. So you can, for example, if you want to upload something like a website, or you have some videos, what you can do, you prepare a PDF where you have the links, for example. This could be a way to upload the information that we expect. If for a few months the project does not achieve deliverable or milestone, do we still have to update the continuous reporting? Alors, of course, if nothing happened, nothing happened. I mean, you are not, you do not update the continuous reporting if you have nothing to update there. So, but as I said, the minimum update time, I think what I said is that at the end of the reporting period, what the system will do when you submit at the end of actually the reporting period, when you submit, the system extract the info from the continuous reporting, and if you have not put information there, this may lead to a suspension, because we may ask for that information, especially if you did not justify what's happening in the report. Okay, so it's the consistency of the things. And as I said in the beginning of the reporting and payment, we expect you to implement the project as you foresee. We know that there are deviations. We know that there are delays, some things which are a bit reshuffled in the timetable. This is all you have to explain us in the reporting. How can we know which issue needs an amendment? If a beneficiary, we are going to add a new person, I don't know. We already said that. So within your entity and within your project team, you can, of course, have new staff working. This does not require an amendment. We do not. Most of the time, this is not in the grant agreement. So basically, if the entity does not change, and César made it clear a bit earlier, if the entity does not change, I mean, you do not need an amendment. Can we increase the number of...
But maybe, yeah, because the first question is, how can we know which issues need an amendment?
This is exactly what I say. It's, you have to ask the monitoring help desk. If you ask the monitoring help desk with your issues, so basically what you do, you explain your case, they will screen it and they will guide you. Okay, they will consult us if they need to, and they will guide you. Okay, and we will explain that also. We will provide more guidance on the 24th. Sorry, we could not have everything in one presentation. Can we increase the number of person month if need? More staff for less cost? Is there an amendment needed? Anne or Licinia?
Well, normally, if the budget doesn't change, there is no need for an amendment. The only thing is, if you need more person months, it should just be justified with regard to the implementation of the project. So it is more a technical issue than a financial one. So I think from that side, an amendment is probably not needed as long as the budget doesn't, well, there is the flexibility of budget changes, but if there is nothing drastically that changes in the project, I don't think that there is a need for an amendment.
Exactly. So in fact, what is important here is, again, what I said in the beginning of the reporting and payment. So the cost, there is an element of eligibility, which is purely financial. For example, the procurement has been done in the correct way. You have the right salary justification and all this. But it's also related to the implementation. So do you really need that amount of personnel? And we can question that. For example, if we think that what you have done does not is not justified, the number of person months is not justified with what you have been implemented, we may question that.
You cannot, for example, budget a senior to do a lot of work and then replace it by 2 junior persons because it would not be efficient. So you should also make sure that you see what type of staff that you have allocated to the tasks.
Yeah. What happens if a deliverable is rejected? So, for us to reject a deliverable is that actually we consider that this deliverable, there are 2 possibilities. Either this deliverable might have been of a good quality and we only rejected because you did not change, it was seen as public and you tell us, no, we can't make this public. And we don't do an amendment because we are at the end of the project and we don't do an amendment for that. So we technically reject it, but it's still of a good quality. Or it's because that we can't accept it. So basically because it is of a bad quality, does not meet what you does not, let's say, it's not consistent with your project, it's not what we expected, or you said that you would deliver. So basically we reject the deliverable in that case. Most of the time we will not reject it. We might reopen it, and if it's the first, and we give in the first period, and we give you the possibility to re-upload it. But if we reject it, it means that okay, the cost, the work that was linked to that deliverable might be questioned in terms of eligibility, because it's not accepted. We can't accept the costs which were linked to that specific deliverable. Okay, but all this, of course, it's possible, but it will be, let's say, during the communication that we may have with you after your project is the report is submitted. Should the due deliverable, do we report labor cost by work package in the system? I think you already replied that question yesterday. Anne?
Yes, I think that with the reporting, you don't need to have, for example, in your time registration system, the labor or the days per work package, but you should somewhere keep track of what you spend per work package, because this will be requested. But it's not necessarily to have it in your timesheets, because you can also do this tracking in another way.
But it will be requested at the final stage in the use of resources. So basically, yes, you have to find a way to allocate the effort to a package, to a work package. because the use of resources, this is what is asked. And we did not enter into that in now, but if you want, you can have a look to the financial guidance. This is clearly mentioned what you have to do at the end of the project. Should the due deliverable or financial document be submitted to the TMO on a deadline before the visit? It was used to be 3 weeks in advance. Now it's no more the case. So basically the monitor, technical monitor, will go in the system and will see what deliverable was submitted, and will have a look there directly themselves. So you don't have to send them anything in advance. Cesar, do I reply correctly?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, by default, unless you wouldn't be told otherwise for some very specific special reason, for some projects like, in principle, the default approach is that you will submit and then only the submitted deliverables will be assessed by the monitors.
I think, as I already mentioned before the midterm report, it can be that we will ask you to submit some financial information on the calculation of staff costs and so on. But this is not that you need to give it to the monitor. You will have to send this straight to us, and it is just for us to check if you have understood how to calculate, so that at the time that you need to report on the final report where we will accept your cost, that we are somewhere confident that you have well understood, so that we can still provide you with some guidance.
What is the difference between a project officer and a technical monitor? That's a very good question. So the project officer are like Cesar, myself. We are what we are called project advisor as well. So we are staff from CINEA. So we are in the live team that is actually implementing the live project. The technical monitor are external consultant, assisting CINEA. As Cesar, if you missed Cesar's presentation, please have a look to it. So explain well the difference between the role and the interaction between the two persons. But we are, of course, interacting together as well. Cesar?
Yeah, but I mean the first contact for you more frequent, let's say, will be the external monitor, and also through indirectly through the monitoring help desk as well. And we are in the second row, and we are the ones also like taking the final binding decisions and approving payments and so on.
And if you agree, I can reply to the question on the financial guidelines. Is the annotated grant agreement? It's mentioned draft, but still it's the Bible. This is exactly what you have to look to. There is no more Annex 10. And this is what you have to look to. This is Antonio's message question. Is there any list of proving documents like it was in the Annex 10? So Annex 10 doesn't exist anymore for the new program, for the new model grant agreement. Is the annotated grant agreement. So you will find a lot of the answer of the question that came out in this annotated grant agreement. Continuous reporting. In the new programming, reporting will be done only through the portal. Butler will no longer be used by the beneficiaries. So that's clear. Everything has to go via the funding and tender portal. This is really important. Do you have a complement of reply on Antonio's question? And is there any list of proving?
Well, in principle, there are all the accounting documents that justify your cost, which is also including time registration, invoices. So everything that is linked to your cost in the accounting system, so that we can reconcile the amounts. I'm not sure if it is so detailed in the annotated grant agreement, but there is also some guidance in the Article 20 record keeping that gives a little bit more information on how to prove your cost and so on. So I would recommend that you have a look there. But it's practically the same as what we said in the previous, in the Annex 10. It doesn't change.
It's well commented also in the annotated grant agreement, the Article 20. So there you will also have quite a lot of examples and information.
Okay. Is English mandatory for all deliverables? No. However, as we said, for key deliverable, it's important that we have a summary in English. So like this, we are able to assess it as well. One thing I just wanted to cross-check about the question about the deliverables, the milestone, who can, apparently it doesn't say that it's only the coordinating beneficiary then can update the milestone. And for the critical risk, but of course, all this arrangement you have to discuss that within your partnership as well. If you want to have specific roles for specific action that you have to do in the system. Some, of course, you can't choose, but some, if you have to choose, maybe you can discuss that in your practical arrangement within the consortium.
Nadia, I just saw a question popping up regarding the annotated grant agreement, and I think it's important to reply before we go to the next session. So it's annotated grant agreement is a document of around 350 pages and changing constantly, difficult to use. Do you expect us to be familiar with it? Yes, please do. It's a living document, it's true, but it has a lot of explanations. It has it goes through all the cost categories that you will have, and it really gives quite useful examples, not only at the level of personal costs, but also travel, subcontracting, financial support to third parties. So please really take the time to read it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for so many questions, and thank you, Nadia, Anne, Licinia, and César for replying to them. So it's time for the last presentation. For the last presentation of this horizontal session, I'm pleased to invite Milena Shumanova for presenting how the LIFE program supports our beneficiary to access to market. Thank you, Milena. The floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Manuela. Still good morning, everybody. I'm here with the last presentation about close to market services offered to LIFE beneficiaries. I work also in the team of Circular Economy Quality of Life as a project advisor, and I'm currently responsible for the coordination of these close to market services that are provided to your projects. But first of all, I join my colleagues in congratulating you all for having achieved the LIFE funding for your projects. Next slide, please. So basically, close to market support is stemming from the key question, which you are already invited to think about at the application stage and later on emphasized during the duration of your project, which is thinking about the afterlife already at the beginning of your LIFE project. Next slide, please. So why do we refer to close to market projects in LIFE? Just very shortly as some background. As many of you are not newcomers to LIFE know, LIFE has been financing the green innovative projects already since its beginnings 30 years ago. And the reason for the close to market and environmental or the close link between the market and environmental sustainability is that if you or if your projects are economically successful, then their positive environmental impact will also be sustainable in the long run. And therefore, LIFE has made this move some years back to provide support to projects with market potential, to help them or to help you to accelerate the market uptake, the commercialization, but also upscaling of the technology solutions. Next slide, please. So here, just I want to briefly give you a little bit of an idea and share with you this contrast that we observe between the technical and business readiness of our LIFE beneficiaries up to now. This is in particular valid for circular economy and quality of life sub-program, but also for climate change mitigation related projects. The chart on the left, you can see, describes the technical readiness of the project solutions, and it clearly indicates the TRL of almost half of our live project solution is between 7 to 8, where innovation has already been developed but is not yet being exploited. And another big chunk of our project solutions, around 37, is still under development, so having TRL 6 and lower. And the rest of the live projects, which is around 14%, is already exploiting the innovation, having TRL 9, so this is a minority. On the chart, compared to the others, on the chart on the right, indicating business plan preparation readiness, you can also observe that nearly half of live projects, they plan to develop a business plan with the aim of commercializing the solution. Around 35% have the business plan already done or is being prepared. And around 12% of live projects do not foresee a business plan within the project, but the beneficiaries or the coordination team deems it to be necessary. And only 5% of live projects do not plan nor feel a need to develop a business plan for their solutions at the stage of the live project duration. Next slide, please. So here you can see a short overview about the most frequent areas in which live beneficiaries look for a support. Basically, this could be, for instance, business plan and market studies, where they prepare a draft and they seek for feedback, raising capital and afterlife funding, but also help with feasibility studies or securing intellectual property rights. Next slide, please. So here comes the practical question. How can this close-to-market initiative support you? At the early stage of your project, you are receiving introductory calls from the close-to-market experts who are our external, or who will be, because we are currently selecting a new provider for these services. So they will be able to help you to assess the commercialization potential of your project solution. Once this stage is done, and if you are interested, based on your request, expert can also support you in developing the milestones, but also concrete action points that help you to move towards market readiness during your project. On this commercialization path, you have, of course, the live monitoring help desk as the first contact point for continuation and sustainability related issues. But you can also refer for support to other available support options, like, as mentioned, the Live C2M experts, EU Green Assist, Enterprise Europe Network experts, and EU Innovation Radar services, which I will be mentioning also later. Next slide, please. So, as already mentioned briefly, C2M experts can also assist you with after-life financing opportunities, but also with networking with potential business partners. Or we also have cases when projects sought for help with connecting to investors. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, maybe some of you are familiar with the EU Innovation Radar. So here's a bit of an overview and how and why or how it is relevant for your projects. So the Innovation Radar platform is allowing essentially to identify and map high potential innovations and innovators in EU-funded high-quality projects. This could be LIFE, but also Horizon Europe and others. This platform makes information about these EU-funded innovations visible as the first objective, but also makes it accessible to not only to public, but also to potential investors and partners that could help get this innovation faster to the market. So with the mentioned live close-to-market experts, how do they step in here? Basically, they review your project innovation and they assess the market maturity and attractiveness. And to enable the mapping, this kind of mapping of your project, we will ask you at later stage, or rather early stage of your project, but early next year, we will ask you to fill in the what we call the C2M checklist, which will be at the beginning, and a second time you will fill it in is at the end of your project duration. And the C2M checklist will help us to identify on basically your project status, but also your possible needs in the market area. And then it allows us also to integrate your innovation into the innovation radar and allows you also to access the support services. This was, for instance, also the case of one of our live projects, German live projects, which has been selected to receive some pitching support in the context of the Innovation Radar Prize Scheme, which was given to promising startup innovators. Next slide, please. So this is just to give you an overview of the types of interactions that you might be having with the close to market and monitoring team, such as, for instance, introductory calls with the market experts, filling in the C2M checklist, as I mentioned, but also possible close to market session with the close to market experts that go to selected projects, which ideally we try to connect to your regular visits with the meetings with your monitor. And also in a more ideal case, we would like to connect it to the monitoring visit where the monitor, but also your project advisors are present. And then there is also the ad hoc market support for your projects, which are based on your market status and needs or on your individual requests. Next slide, please. Here to give you an idea about the most recent support which was provided to live projects. Here's an example from past year and some key activities that took place, such as number of projects contacted and supported, but you can also see the amount of coaching sessions which were provided, or for instance, a number of calls with projects which have high market potential, and we follow up with them to see their progress and support them in the next steps. Next slide, please. So here I will conclude the presentation with a few examples of some projects which have been supported recently, such as LiveCEP LAFIP. This project has, just to give you a bit of a background, they have developed a technology for producing a new material from de-inked pulp or recycled polypropylene to be used in packaging, but also automotive and construction industry. And they had specific needs identified through the C2M checklist that they filled in. And on the basis of these needs, and also on the basis of their request, the C2M expert helped them with developing the business setup. But also at a later stage, they also came back with some more needs or requests for help. And then they also received support with exploitation agreement setup, but also with the financial model, and also got some pitching coaching before specific meetings that they had with potential investors. Next slide, please. So another example is the mentioned project, the German project Live Waste to Protein. And this project is run by a German startup. And they develop a solution which is scalable to manufacture a completely location independent and sustainable insect protein solution from back soldier fly larvae, which are fed by bio-waste from local supermarket chains. And upon their request, C2M team helped them with business coaching, but also with business plan preparations. And they also had a couple of sessions where they received support for preaching presentations to their investors, which, as they later told us, substantially helped them to prioritize and to focus on and streamline their presentation. Just for your information, this startup was selected as one of the successful finalists of the Best EU-backed Sustainability Startup and by EU Dealflow, which more information you will find on the website of Innovation Radar, which is hyperlinked later. And they are currently negotiating with potential new business partner for developing additional plants in the region of Leipzig. Next slide, please. So my last project example is the Live Novio Ocean project that developed an innovative wave energy converter technology. And they can deliver basically electricity in a much more cost-efficient and reliable way compared to the existing wave energy concepts. And the C2M team supported this team or this beneficiary specifically in investor-related areas. So, for instance, this included several reviews of pitch deck feedback. Then they received also a session focused on how to obtain additional funding via impact investment venture capital funds. And they also received some support with the business plan review. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, currently the close-to-market services are on hold, which is due to ongoing selection of the new external provider. We expect that the new C2M support team would be in place early next year. And then, of course, we will inform you about this. And we will also share the contact details of the new C2M expert team in the due course. But, and as mentioned also earlier, for now, you can refer to Live Monitoring Help as the first contact point for after live, continuation, or sustainability-related issues. Just for your background, these requests from the help desk will be redirected either to your respective technical monitor, or they could also be directed to us here in CINEA. Our C2M team here is currently composed of 3 people, which includes my colleagues Geraldine, Mario, and myself. And we will also be supported by our new trainee, Pau. And last but not least, as mentioned, you can also explore other EU-funded alternatives, such as EU Green Assist, Enterprise Europe Network Experts advice, but also mentioned EU Innovation Radar services. They are all hyperlinked here on this slide, and you can visit these websites for more information. It's pretty straightforward in case you would have specific questions or need more information. There are contact details on each of these websites, but you can also contact us via the help desk. Next slide, please. So we are coming to the end. Thank you very much for your attention. For more information on the earlier slide, which has jumped into Slido link, you can see basically the link to the C2M section of the Live website, with more information about the C2M aspects of Live, but also you can also find many more examples of market-oriented projects. And yes, of course, in case of any questions, do not hesitate to now drop your query in the Slido. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Milena. Thank you for your presentation. Now we will have about 5 minutes for question and answers.
I see we are still at Aga. Here are some practical questions regarding the recording, welcome meetings, annotated agreement. So in case there are no C2M related questions, as mentioned earlier, you know where to find us and how to contact us. So I wish you all the best for your project kickoff and for the project duration. Thanks.
So thank you, Milena. I think we can go to close to this meeting. Yes, please close the slide. Thanks a lot. So at the end of this intensive days for the Welcome Meeting Horizontal Sessions edition 2023. Let me thank you, all the participants who attended the yesterday and today session, with more than 800 people on day one and more than 500 people for today, with more than 250 projects selected and invited. So I'd like also to thanks all the speakers and moderators of day one and day two, and a special thanks to all colleagues and external teams who are working behind the scene for this event, and also to all colleagues that worked at the desk to select the best proposal and the best projects. I hope you found this session interesting and inspiring. So before closing this session, let me remind you once again about the upcoming events. So please show the slide with the calendar for the next session, please. So thanks a lot. As you can see, tomorrow we will have the thematic session dedicated to the climate action projects. And we are waiting for you on 10 October for the thematic session dedicated to natural biodiversity projects. On 11 October, the section dedicated to CQL, circular economy and quality of life. And last but not least, please remind about the 24 October section dedicated to the financial management. So that's all from my side. Good luck with your projects, and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.